Hello and welcome to another episode of Crypto Charts. I am Fausto Botelho, broadcasting from Brazil, and here we use our simple technical analysis and try to find out what is going to happen with the crypto. We think on the Bitcoin standard, as I am calling it, because as we understand, Bitcoin is going to be the most valuable coin in the future, much more valuable than all other fiat money, as it is already. Then what we understand is that we should look at charts on the crypto space quoted in Bitcoin. In this manner, we try to increase our Bitcoins. Recently, we've been talking also here in the Crypto Chart channel about the S&P, and I want to make a update in what we've seen in the S&P that is on its edge now, testing its a very important resistance level. And I also want to tell you about the chart of the S&P that I use, because I've been asked about whether the S&P has broken its support trend line or not, and that is because of different charts that people use. So I'm going to show you the chart that I use that I think it's the correct one. So come along, let's take a look. Here's the S&P. Let me just double check here, and here we can see that it has indeed broke the support trend line. Oops, sorry, pause for some water. Has indeed broken the support trend line of the upward trend that started on the end of the subprime crisis. But if we change the scale from log to linear, we'll see a very different scenario. And this scenario will be such that we would understand that it is holding tight in its resistance, in its support trend line. Also, I present the S&P here indexed by the CPI, which means that we take inflation out of it. So if I come into parameters here and don't index, we're going to see a slight different situation as well. So now, well, I was in log. Now I'm showing the S&P not indexed. So this is what you see, which is ridiculous, right? Because you can't compare these oscillations here that come back from the 50s with today's oscillation. So it's quite clear that if you're looking at a long-term range, you have to index your charts, and in the US we use the S&P, the CPI, sorry. So we're back to the chart indexed but linear scale, and it shows a completely different situation. Also, if I take a look in the chart from the beginning, we're also going to see a situation in which we can't compare these past quotes with nowadays quotes. This is completely exaggerated. So I am absolutely sure that the correct chart is the one that I use, which is indexed by the CPI and log scale. Looking at this chart, as we've done many times here in the channel already, we now, and let's go to the specifics. Now we will see that, well, Fausto, but is this line drawn correctly? Well, what is important to me here with this line is that it has been broken. And once it has been broken, I entitle myself to draw Fibonacci lines and to forecast that there's a big high possibility that the markets will come from where it is now to the first Fibonacci correction level, which would mean a drop of from today's price 37%, which, if happens, would put the world short of 1/3 of its richness, and that would certainly cause a recession, which is what we want to consider, right? So now this support trend line, I think we have to place in the most recent lows, which are these here: 1916, 2016, 2016, and 2018 here. Situation here is that the trend line has been broken. The market went up back with this spectacular reaction, a V bottom here, and tested these very important resistance line. It is very important because besides these two here, there's another two in there, right? So this is indeed a very important resistance line, as we have already stated here in last week's video. It would be around here. So that's what happened. The market went there, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Last week it was over here. It fell for 2 days, and then it went up for the last 3 days. But today it is it is again, they're saying, feeling the resistance. Let's take a look in the intraday chart to see what is going on. Well, I'll tell you guys something. This is the 15-minute of the mini S&P. If I was long in this situation here, I would sell. I would blindly sell whenever the market reached this level where the last time it happened, it felt 3.4%. I would really try to sell that, and especially because I would also be taking a look in the daily chart, and I would see that this is a very important resistance level, right? Once first time it touched there, felt 4.5%. Second time touched there, felt 9%. The other time felt 7.3%, felt 6.5%, and before last time 16%. Last time it fell 3.3%. So this is a very important resistance level, and well, we'll have to wait to see, right? If the market goes above this resistance, then I'm going to throw the towel, and I'm going to be rethinking all my analysis. The market is probably going to test the double top here, eventually produce a triple top, which is something that usually happens, but it doesn't happen in this situation in which it breaks the support of the between the two tops. So that's going to be a rare thing or I'm absolutely wrong, and the Fed is going to pump even more, and we're going to see a third or a fourth leg upwards here. Everything is possible, but I just think it's a very small, remote possibility. And besides, the market is producing today a bearish candle. Let's take a look and see what happens. So next week we might have good news. So now I want to show you why I think the crypto market is starting to become bullish. And that's very simple. There's a lot of crypto coins, crypto tokens that are indicating an upward movement. And I still believe, I'm going to show you, but I still believe Bitcoin is holding tight and it's ready to go up. Adding to that, lots of coins that are giving very important bullish signals. I think we're starting a bullish movement, and I can't stop thinking of the corporations flocking, jumping into Bitcoin. The what we call mainstream jumping into Bitcoin. There's plenty of reasons for that, right? We know that the big companies are producing their own coins. Facebook's producing, Tesla is, I don't know about Tesla, but Amazon is producing their coins. Everybody, nobody can stay out of this revolution, right? So everybody's putting on some steps towards producing coins, and Bitcoin is going to dominate that. And besides, there's the other possibility that some of the money of the stocks, and it could have started already, because stocks are in the high. They're very close to the all times high. So it's possible that some of this money is already coming to the crypto space. So let's take a look in the charts, though. Starting here, an eye on crypto. I am just going to turn all these charts into daily charts, and also I'm going to spread them in alphabetical order, and starting with Bitcoin Gold, which broke this resistance line. For those who don't know, Bitcoin Gold is a coin that made a fork out of Bitcoin in October 2017. And they propose to have a mining process which is like the old times, in which you can't have advantage if you use a bigger computer. So the idea is for it to return to the situation in which it wouldn't be concentrated in the big companies and the big owners of big pools of computers and so on. And that was a test. Sorry for that. So it broke this resistance trend line. It broke this other resistance trend line and is accumulating in a rectangle here, which I think is going to result in the continuation of this upward movement. And so the Bitcoin Gold could go up to this next resistance level, which is around here, which would mean a upward movement of 20-25%. Binance Coin, I've said already in last video, but if we consider that as we had wave 1 here, wave 2, wave 3, and now we have these big sideways movement, sideways trend, we could call that. But whenever you have a sideways trend and the market breaks to one of the sides, you usually project the height of the upward movement upwards, beginning in the resistance, in the upward line, resistance line of the accumulation, right? So we would project this height here over here, and we would go to a place where it would give us 120, 130% upward movement. There's this projection here, which is the one we're using now, that projects it to 0.005, which would give us another 25% upward movement. But also, my friends, there's this possibility here that we would make a wave 3. We would make a movement comparable to wave 3, which we must say is smaller than wave 1. So projecting that upward, we come to here, and that would mean an upward movement of around 290, almost 300%. So yes, I think there's a lot for Binance Coin to go up, and that's with the situation in which the whole market is coming down. If the market goes up, maybe it will outperform all the market and Bitcoin, and I must say we are actually looking at charts. As I said in the beginning, we're looking at BTC quoted charts, right? That's Binance in BTC. So hopefully it will continue to outperform Bitcoin, because Binance as a company would benefit a lot if the coins, if we start a bull market. Indeed, yes, because it owns money as people trade, and people would trade much more if we start a bull market, right? So I'm very confident in that Binance could still go a lot further up. Now, Bitcoin is still holding a situation in which I understand that this is a sort of a inverted head and shoulders. It broke the neckline and came down, but I think it just made a pullback to the former neckline, and it's going to go up. Now, it's sort of drifting down here after a small upward movement. So I think this is a small flag that will result in market testing again 4,200, and then the market will have to deal with this situation here. Actually, by breaking the neckline of this inverted head and shoulders, we have this projection here, right, which is a little below 6,000. And if that happens, if we reach the projection of the head and shoulders here, we would have broken the downward trend line, and also we could imagine another trend line which would be a little upward from here. That would be here, taken from this descending triangle here. So anyway, if it goes to the objective of the projection of the head and shoulders, it will have broken all these lines, and if it breaks all these lines, then we're you know, the heaven is the limit. So I'm bullish in Bitcoin. We just don't actually issue the recommendation because we want to do it in the correct timing, and we might have to wait a little bit more. Link has gone up, has outperformed Bitcoin all over since, I'm sorry about that, all over since July last year. And now it has broken in January its all-time high and made a pullback, and now I think it's flagging up. So we have an objective here, which is 0.00028, which would be an upward movement of 120 some percent. Very bullish in chain link. Decreed broke this resistance line yesterday, and with strength, but you know, it went up it bumped, we could say, 40%, and then it closed 11.5% upward movements yesterday. So I think we're going to see the market flag up here, and I'm hoping it to do so. And we're going to be keeping an eye on this 1 hour into the chart to see when the bulls are taking over, and I think that's a very good possibility for some gains in the creed, because we would have, drawing Fibonacci, we would have a possibility for the market to reach first correction level of Fibonacci, which would be from now prices now 42.7% upward movement, or even more, right? So good possibility. Now Icon, look at this. It broke this resistance line, it broke this other resistance trend line, and it reached its objective. It's the objective of a what we can already call a inverted head and shoulders over here, right? After a 1, 2, 3 third downward movement. And now the market is sort of flagging up, so we're keeping an eye on that too. If it breaks this resistance line, we could go from nowadays price 80% upwards. Now Lisk has also broken this resistance line, and if we could consider that as a inverted head and shoulders, then we would project it to over here, and it's holding tight after the big raise up yesterday, and that would be 75% up. Yesterday it went up for about 8%. So it's another coin that is pointing upwards, right? Maker the only problem with Maker is that you can only trade it in OKX, but we have the quotes from OKX, and that's specifically for Maker that we went to pick those quotes. And after breaking its all-time high, I think we're flagging up here. So keeping an eye on the 1 hour chart to see whenever we're going to see the bulls taking over, and that's going to be the timing for us to eventually take a position that would take us to the projection of this supposedly reversal pattern here, which would be up there and would mean a 155% upward movement. Now look at Nano. Nano broke this resistance trend line, pulled back to its former resistance trend line, and it went sideways, and now it broke this resistance. And what is it doing? I don't know. Let's ask the 1 hour chart. And well, I think this might as well be a continuation pattern, but we'll keep an eye on that. It's not very clear for the moment, but the important thing is that it gave us a sign of life, as I used to say, right? OMI's Go also, look at that, broke this resistance line and also broke this resistance trend line, and now it broke this resistance level. And what is it doing now? Let's ask the 1 hour chart. It's flagging up, so OMI's Go. We might issue a recommendation for OMI's Go in the near future, in the next hours, maybe. Now, ontology, same thing. Well, not exactly, but after. I think this downward trend is over. The market broke this resistance trend line here, flagged up, and now it flagged up again, and now it's making what? What can we call that? Maybe we'll call it a ascending triangle or a rectangle if it comes back here and then it goes up. But I think this is definitely not a top, and yes, a continuation pattern. So we would have a possibility for ontology to go up to our objective here. It's 50% up. Not bad. Sia Coin also gave us a warning that this downtrend may be over with the breaking of this resistance trend line here. And what is it doing now? What is it doing now? What is it doing now? 1 hour chart. Tell me, what is it doing now? Well, it's probably low liquidity here. Not good for people with many bitcoins, but it's also signaling upwards, right? And Steam broke this resistance line and broke this resistance trend line, and broke this resistance level, which is a very important resistance level. Look at that. It comes from here. This accumulation here, they stop here, and so it definitely broke, and it's flagging up. So I think it's probably going to our objective, which would be further 57% upward. And Stellar finally, no, I think that's not fine. Well, Stellar, looking at the entire chart, we see an upward movement and then a sideways. And these sideways we could consider that a rectangle or something, right? So having broken these, sorry about the interruption again. Our people's working here. Having broken this resistance trend line here, I think there's a good possibility for it to go pick these upward resistance levels here, which would mean an upward movement of around 70-some%. Waves, look at Waves. Waves broke this resistance trend line. I think it put an end in this downward trend. And then it went up with 2 legs, and then it went sideways, and it is apparently breaking this resistance trend line here. Let's take a look in the hourly chart. Yeah, apparently it did, but it came down. But what it did, maybe it just pulled back to the former resistance trend line, right? So keeping an eye on that too, and the possibilities would be for it to, well, first of all, go test the last stop, which would be 70% upwards, and then we could very well project this upward movement here, upward from the low, which would mean an upward movement of around 368%, which is very stimulating indeed, isn't it? Well, Zcash, it gets broke this resistance line, and again, it's coming down, but is it reverting, or did it just came to make a pullback, a 1, 2, 3, an ABC, and then after this upward flag here, start going up again? So, remains to be seen, but I invite you to take your seats and watch the crypto area, look at the charts, because I think there's a bull market coming on. Thank you for having watched the video. If you're not, if you didn't yet, please subscribe the video, touch the bell so you'd be advised of the new videos, and tell your friends about the channel. Tell your friends that there's a Brazilian guy here that speaks some English and knows some technical analysis. And I'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.